Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have on the line with me tonight from the great Midwest, but not that far west in Montana. That would be, of course, the Great Lakes region. That's one RDV. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be covering episodes 1, 2, and 3. The first 3 episodes drop of season 1 of The Madison, starring Kurt Russell and Michelle Pfeiffer. And, RDV, we've been doing this for a few years, so we kind of know how it goes. This is going to be a little unusual for me because this is the kind of show that when I saw it, I said, I'm a Kurt Russell mark. You know that one. I love Michelle Pfeiffer. Been watching her since the 70s and 80s. This show, I'm just speak from the gut first, give you my first take on it, and then we're going to go through it and talk about what we like, didn't like, what we normally do. We don't hate watch. We don't get political unless it's relevant to the story. But here's the thing with Taylor Sheridan shows. This is a complete 100%, in my opinion, bait and switch. If people were to argue to me, hey, Rob, you should have known better. I will say that since the show was filmed a year or so ago, they did a great job of keeping the big secret spoiler alert alive. And so they were effective in what they were doing. I could argue the show as being very, very pro-feminist, very almost anti-male in a way. I'm not saying woke, but it's very clear here that this show was marketed one way and then it's given to completely different. And I think that's complete bullshit. I think everyone's 100% completely in on it. They don't give a fuck. And that's what's kind of pissing me off about it, because there's some good things about the show that I like and some things that just make me cringe or whatever like that. But Sheridan, I'm looking at you. You know what you're doing, and you can play both sides of the feminist, non-feminist equation here, but this is definitely not a pro-male show in any sense or regard at all there, too. There's one or two glaring things plot-wise, and if you could ignore that, there's some really good stuff in here, too. But I'm like a lot of people 20 minutes into the first episode. I know I held off saying anything about it because you just got done watching and everything else there, too. But what's your initial take on these first 3 episodes?
For me, it kind of feels like you're going back to almost like a 90s sitcom.
How so?
Not a lot of laughs, but like I said, it feels very in lines with as far as shows I've watched in the past. This time, they're dealing with the death of their father, her husband. She's grieving, so they're now displaced out, and now they're in the middle of Montana, and she's dealing with the aftermath because all the family's back together under one roof, and nobody likes each other. It's very cliche. And she's got two spoiled daughters. One's going through divorce, who has kids. The other one is married, but she's complete prima donna. She's married to her husband, who's also a pushover.
You mean her cuck?
Well, she's not cheating on him. No.
True.
No.
You know what?
So,
you're tricked.
No, he's a soy boy. He's a beta boy. And you find out through that his mother was like that too. And I kind of like this going through each episode. We get the flashbacks because something she reads, or if she finds a journal or whatever, and you get to see Kurt Russell, and just him talking to her, talking about the children. He even admits in episode 2, it's like how Abby, it's like when we cradled her, and he's like, the mother wants to cut her off. He's like, you can't do that because we made her. If we throw her out to the woods, the wolves, she'll die. She'll perish, But pretty much, I said it's. I like the fact that no matter what she tries to argue with him, Kurt Russell is always right, and she hates him because I can't be mad at you because you're always winning these arguments. And
the only mansplaining I've seen that's been successful.
Right? Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this, just as we're kind of touching on some themes here. I'll be honest, part of my frustration with the episodes, not necessarily the episodes itself, it was how, like I said, I felt it was presented. And we've talked about this before with movie previews and how the real movies maybe don't look like it, or if you know there's a certain director, it's going to be a certain way, right? So the one thing that intrigued me about it as a lifelong Kurt Russell fan, watching him growing up, I thought, wow, here's a really interesting opportunity to see some great actors in the twilight of their careers, of their life, or like that, doing something. And I thought they were going to have to handle grief or whatever like that. And I thought, this is not like a rom-com. This is not an action movie. This is not a comic book movie. So I was really intrigued by it. And let's be honest, we can get this out of the way because it's shot and directed by a woman. Show's absolutely stunning, beautiful, and it's so seductive and gorgeous watching it. You can just fall in love by watching to it and listening to it. It's beautiful, right? And so I guess what happened to me is, and the biggest problem I had was not that they killed Kurt Russell and his brother off about 20, 30 minutes in. It's just that when we see them going in there's a lot of Robert Redford tribute, I would say, to it, with, the river runs through the fly fishing, right? And everything.
Yeah.
And as men, I think you and I would agree, whether we're fishermen or hunters or not, that's bonding. It's great. So we know the wives are going to get pulled into it. Everything's mature.
Yeah.
They go to fly to a special spot. It's his birthday. This all makes sense, right? And the problem I had, I'm sitting there with my wife and we're watching it, and then all of a sudden they see the storm, and they're like, "Oh, well, we get storms all the time." And I went, "Uh-oh, they're going to kill him off." But I didn't think they'd kill both of them. I thought they'd kill like the brother off, right? And they went, "Oh, Kurt Russell." Boy, how stupid am I, right?
So I remember seeing a trailer about this, and I remember when New York first was announced about this, it showed a lot of her and the kids, and I didn't really see them together in in the clips. It's always her, and plus the thumbnail of her by herself. So I had a feeling they were going to go in that direction. I just don't know how or when.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not, things can be obvious and you could see it coming. So sometimes in the watching of it, that's okay. But the thing that pissed me off the most in terms of the plot writing is this specific part is, I liked how they went there, and then he said, "Well, we can leave if you want," and then they're like, "Nah, I think we're okay," or whatever. And so then they get the "oh shit" moment. We got to get the F out of here. And I don't know about you. I've known one or two pilots in my life. This one pilot I know currently, I'm waiting to ask him this. You've been a pilot, hunter, gatherer, basically a person that knows the land and all that. Whether the storms are there or not, whether or not you make a wrong decision about the intensity of it or judgment, that's Mother Nature, right? It's unique in her own way, very powerful. You'd never fuck with Mother Nature, right? So I just don't believe that those two would have made the last second decision that was really dumb of trying to get the F out of there like that when they were panicked before they got on the plane. I just felt they would have written it out somehow.
We don't know how.
I don't know.
We don't know how experienced of a pilot his brother was. We don't know much about the brother at all. We just know that he lived off the land. He was more in touch with nature. He'd been living there for a couple of years. I don't know how long he's had his pilot license. We don't know what happened when they crashed. We just know that we saw them one moment, and then the next moment she's got a phone call. So it could be a freak thing. But here's the thing, though. When they said, like, "Oh, I'm going to take you out to a place where no one's ever fished before," I'm like, "Oh, he's dead."
He's dead too.
I was like, dang.
I was thinking like grizzly or something.
I'm glad though that Kurt Russell's not just in that first episode and then gone. They're bringing him in every episode. He's going to be in it.
Sure.
And he's got about 2 or 3 scenes in it. But majority is Michelle Pfeiffer being from a rich family, and stuff, or her husband did everything for her and stuff, and she's turning out to having, she's like, "I raised a bunch of assholes." She's kind of like going into the Billy Bob Thornton kind of thing, and she's calling them, you're little bitches. You called my daughters what? Yeah, no, I'm talking about you and your sister. And then we get to see the sisters fight in the second episode. I mean, brawl fight. I was like, damn,
But that to me was written as how men would handle it. I don't think women would do that.
Women just.
But that was
sisters do scrap.
Maybe, but
and not. So they weren't throwing punches. They were just basically slapping.
I know.
So is but no, that was believable. I have sisters.
Well, let's talk about the main positive show that I think everybody agrees upon. Besides the how sexy and good looking the show is, and of course that's Michelle Pfeiffer, beauty in her own right, well done actor. We've talked about her with Scarface and other stuff there too. She sang that Cool Rider tune and the second Grease one, right? And all that remembers that back in the day. Here's the thing. She plays one, I think she said her age was 65, and he was probably around the same age. I understand with some of the dialogue that you've already referenced them, particularly the foot massage scene where he talks about, he goes, "Look, we can't leave her out there. She doesn't have it in her. My job's always going to be to rescue her." Even though they're not arguing, they're having a conversation. She has the hardest job of everybody because she doesn't really seem to like New York. She doesn't know what she likes, but she doesn't come across as a millionaire or gazillionaire's stuck up wife. She does not. That's the hard part for, I think, her as an actress, because she's got the toughest role. And if you're not buying her, You're not buying it all. But the one big problem I
Yeah.
have isn't her. This is what I was going to ask you about, because I think this is the whole crux of the episode. Forget the quote unquote bad decision the guy's made to get in the plane to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really honestly believe him as somebody that, as far as we know, made his money, didn't inherit it? They started from nothing, made their fortune, that they'd raised two really, and this is going to be the point of the show, right?
Yeah.
Bad kids. It just
Here's the
doesn't
thing.
seem like that's how their
So
character is.
so here's the thing. They both said they when she yells at the daughters, it's like, it's like you raise your kids the same way we raised you, hands off. They were too busy, wrapped up in their own lives, their own social lives, doing all this stuff, and the dad kind of realized that, by too late, and the mom, obviously, was working with mother too. So it said, it's believable though. Yeah, I didn't have no problem believing that.
Okay.
And now she says, like, now I have to, like, it's my fault. We ready to spoiled bitches, and then pretty much now it's up to her, because she doesn't have Kurt Russell with her anymore. Her, like, she's like, she keeps reminding him, everyone is so wrapped up. I don't want to be here. They don't like each other. And she's like, oh my God, like, you guys are so spoiled. Your dad built this cabin. We one for you with all the toys and the kid and all that stuff for the girls, for you to live here, and also for us over there. This is, and it's like, and you guys don't even realize that. She's like, how do you know that? Like, the oldest daughter Abby's like, because I read his journal. So
this is almost like a video game to me, right? And I don't mean this in a bad way. She's finding out who her husband is, and I think she's going to find out how much she really loves him, or loved him, or whatever you want to call
said,
it.
I was in a good marriage. I just didn't know how lucky I was.
Yes. So even though, look, ranting aside about this, you could say it's a pro-feminist show, right? Strong woman, roar, can do everything, all the women there, all the silly stuff that get put in.
It's like that. Landman, but with just women. And correct. And so build up. Now we've already had. Well, this is the first time we've had female leads. There's been strong characters over in Yellowstone, also in 1929, I think it was the other one. Now this is not supposed to be connected. They said originally people are going to think it was be connected to Yellowstone, but it's a standalone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of shows, but we review Landman, we review Tulsa King, right? A part of me is finding it interesting, because I thought if people were wanted to throw the feminist thing in my face, I would sit there and tell them, if you really understand what's going on here and you look at that, I love the fact that she's a strong woman. She's having to deal with grief. It's a very tough line to not get sick and tired of, right? Because of how overwhelming it can be. Because now she has a task, and she's made the decision that she's going to stay there, bury him there, which is cool. And she has to figure out how to do it legally. That's an issue that comes up, and she's working on it. So I actually like the predicament that she's in. It's simple and it's basic.
First three,
she gets to see her kids learn how to be good human beings rather than just nobodies, right?
Yeah.
And in the process of doing that, maybe we get some shenanigans, some fun stuff. Maybe they learn to love each other as a family, and of course that's what it's going to be, which I don't mind. I just think it's interesting that the argument I would have for the feminists out there is that you could argue that she has to almost turn into her husband to be successful, because he's the outdoorsman.
Well,
they refused to go see him because he did not have, the toilet was separate, right? It was the outhouse, and just they lacked the nice.
Yeah, it was because she
had in New York.
There's a lot of women who will not go out there and do stuff with their husbands like that, because they, especially if you come from a rich society or spoiled, there's a lot of girls who are prissies that will not want to go out there, do stuff, go hunting with their boyfriends or husbands, and apparently she was one of them, and they always joked about it too. And she's like, "I'll come out there when you actually have actual like plumbing, because what average woman wants to go in a house,
Well, the big FU was what you kind of referenced, and I thought that was when it started picking up, because there's a couple small buildings right next to this beautiful river, right?
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm gonna go look for his cabin. That's where she finds the journal. She's sitting down and reading it, and she has two older daughters. But when she's in this room, she's like, wait a minute, there's like a little bed here, and there's another one here, and then she looks, and there's all these like kids games and all that, and of course they've never been out there. So the point is he prepped it because he had hoped in his heart at one point he would be there with his wife and his daughters. And it's like, that's when it hits her like a ton of bricks. It's not an FU, it's a, oh God, my husband was so awesome. I can't believe you thought of us so much.
And plus in the flashbacks, we see in the first episode, not Abby, but the younger daughter, I think her name's Paige or whatever. I can't remember what her name is, but she ends up getting mugged. At first, I had no idea who this was. Yeah, she gets punched, and so she calls her husband. He's like, he's out there fishing stuff, or was out the cabin, and he's like, well, why didn't you take the car? And it's like, it's like, that's what it's there for. And they got in a big argument, and he's like, well, it's like, so I can understand why he wanted to get him out of New York, because New York is a bad area, it's a bad place, and and here's the thing, they still have money. If they moved out of there, it's not like that because you're not in New York, all of a sudden your money's gone. No, and I like the fact that he wanted to he realized late at life that they messed up, and he wanted to get his kids out of there and move everybody over here. Because he talks about in the first flashback we see here the first episode. It was his 64th birthday. He's like, hey, he talked to his brother Matthew Fox is the actor. He's like, we went down to this place, or rich, nice off the coastline, across the world, and everyone over there is 20 years older than me, and they're in their 80s and their 90s, and they're barely moving across the sand. And I realized, that's what it looks like to get made, but they didn't make any memories. I want to make memories with my family and stuff.
Too old to enjoy it, too old to make love.
No point. Yeah, point of being out there. You can't go swimming. You can't make love in the sand. It's like you can't do any of that stuff. So he realized, I need to get my family out of there. But unfortunately, his brother's a bad pilot, a freak storm came across.
Yep. And
so he's dead now. But he had laid the groundwork for them to live there. They were, so. But here's the thing, though. She hasn't really decided yet, as far as I saw. She didn't decide to live there. But she said,
she told him that's what she's going to do.
Yeah.
She didn't think I'm
at first,
all that. This is what I'm going to do.
Originally, she was just going to get they go in there, and they have to, she has to verify the bodies and stuff. And she was pissed off because she had to look at her face and stuff, So, why can't she just do fingerprints, And then, she wants to do the funeral and stuff. And she's trying to deal with Abby. She's having a mental breakdown and stuff, and things are like, oh, Mom, you're gonna live here. You can't live here. What are you gonna do? You're an idiot, pretty much, And her mom just kind of snapped her and tells her, because it's like, either she said, here, your dad laid us out here. You've always been taken care of by Daddy. This is your chance. Either you live here with me. Your dad set up everything for all you the kids, or you're on your own. No, she says, I'm selling all the houses. And the daughter's like, do you hate me that much? And she's like, let me out of the truck. And then she says it, and she just peels off, leaves her there.
Yeah, that's how you do it back in the day.
I was like, hell yeah.
Raising, that's nothing. Yeah.
And I love Cade. Cade is the neighbor. He's
let's talk about the friendly neighbor who shows up. Cowboy
Cade. And I love Cade, because immediately we get this guy who is a lot more manly than the man who's there, the husband of the daughter.
Yeah, the dude from Suits, I think he was in, right?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Played a slick dude in Suits, so he's playing a not a slick guy in this one.
He'll
learn and mature in his own way and have a wholesome relationship by the end of season 2.
He and his wife remind me of it's like if you're watching National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, the new one. They're idiots. They're yuppies. They don't know how to live out in the middle of nowhere. And but the neighbor Kate comes over, brings over. He said, everyone in the area, we didn't know how much food, because your brother-in-law, kind of was lives kind of scarce, so because he has no electricity, and stuff. So they brought over a bunch of food. Now before this, they already had elk inside, a bunch of elk, in there, and it's another thing to deal with because it's always modern kids today. Oh, I'm a vegan. I don't eat stuff. And she's mad at her mom. They cooked up the food stuff and made it and used the elk. And she's like, what do you want me to fucking do? Throw it out there for the raccoons? It's it's either you eat or you starve. Kind of I love the mentality she had. But Cade brought over a bunch of stuff, a cooler, and all this stuff up. And he brings up something. He mentions it was like a taco dish, like the Indians. He brings up the word Indians. The youngest daughter, she's like, oh, they're not Indians. That's racist. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's not racist. It's, and she goes out there to apologize to him. It's like, it's like, oh, sorry. He's like, kids. He's like, oh, I have 11-year-old. What do you think happens up here? You get like winter, can't do much. But he's been very nice to them. He actually he later in the third episode brings them on like to look at their father's truck from the sheriff's department up there. Of course, because Abby, who was left behind from her mother on the road, she gets picked up by a deputy. And you can already see that she's starting to say, "Hey, this guy actually is into her,"
Oh yeah, I mean it's so telegraphed and so obvious.
I told you before, this is Hallmark, Taylor Sheridan style.
Man,
literally is. There is a show, I forget what it's called, on Hallmark, but it's a bunch of like women, and I forgot who the actress is. She's like one of the former. I think it might have been not Danica Patrick.
No,
Danica Keller, I think it is.
Oh, Danica Keller, yeah.
Yeah, I think
years.
Might have been her or one of the other ones. They're on a family farm thing and then stuff. And it's just a bunch of women in a household, and it's all it is. This is a very female-led show aimed towards women. And honestly, I didn't see it being a bad show. I mean, I watched it. It's okay. I enjoy this stuff with Kurt Russell. There's enough in there. It's not like you just see Kurt Russell and then it's like 45 minutes without him. He's in there pretty much peppered through.
But here's the thing. Like I say, it's presented one way. And I understand them wanting to keep the secret because let's be honest, if they told everybody, yeah, Kurt Russell's going to die, but he's still in the show, everyone's going to be pissed off. But what it does is it makes me question the integrity of what he's trying to do because I would have no problem if it was presented this way.
Did you notice though the credits says Michelle Pfeiffer, then Kurt Russell? I have no problem with that. No, I'm saying no. So it's a Michelle Pfeiffer led show.
No, I know that. I would honestly, that would pique my curiosity more because the line that he's saying to her in the trailer, if you guys have seen it, is something along the lines of kind of when they're talking about when people get too old and too rich and have the money, but they can't do anything with it, how that's kind of like sad. He says, what if I've got in front of me 5-10 more years before all I can do is try to hold on to what memories I have? And it was just the way he said it and delivered. You're like, damn it, that's great. And I thought, this old couple is going to go through something together, and we get to watch an old couple together. And
sure, I would like that too.
Here's the difference. Yeah. You can say Kurt Russell is a part of the show, but he's really not when you think about it in terms of the writing because he's not alive as a character to do anything. The way he's presented is the way she thinks he is. And so even though it may or may not be his real perspective on it, it can almost come across as like it's giving her advice on how to do it. So I appreciate the conundrum she's in.
From beyond the grave,
you could argue this completely both ways about it. So it's not them as an older couple dealing with like loss of a child or she's got cancer or something like that, right? That's the big bait switch here, which is bullshit. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people would not have watched it because of that.
And probably true, but it's not a bad show.
Well, it's predictable, but here's the thing: the Cowboy Cade, let's call him, right? So what I thought was kind of interesting, this is one thing Sheridan can do well, is you can take a little thing and could be a big thing. You can cringe about the mugging on Fifth Avenue and the cops, she's telling the cops, and like, well, what race was he and blah, and all that stuff, right?
They had the younger daughter. Because she's raised
left. Yeah, she's freaked out. Yeah, she's never been mugged before.
Yeah.
Brookie. So when the oldest daughter, who's a hot MILF, by the way, she was in Turistas. Of course, she lives in a trust fund and all that. Has never had to work a day in her life. She's a loser, basically. And that's the one they have to rescue. But they explain why. It makes sense, right? What was interesting to me was the two young girls in there, the one that's like a preteen and the young, cute little girl there, the blondes, when they're trying to eat and they're trying to whatever and all that, and they're going with all the foods, the grandmother there, Michelle Pfeiffer, makes them write like a thank you card and basically tells the little girls, and this is just some of the stuff we start to see, and this is the good stuff because it's reinforcing old school values, where she says to the girls, do you know what being nice means? Yeah, we made a card. No, you did that because your mom told you. When you give it to them, you give it to them because it's nice. And even if you don't agree with them or don't think like how they do, and this is the mansplaining thing through her, right? When somebody's being nice to you and they have no reason to be nice to you and want anything by you, be nice to them back. So when she goes over with her daughter, I think in episode 2 or 3, and they meet Cade's wife, she's a cowgirl. She's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And she has this line that I think it made me laugh. I'll say this as much as I sound pissed about the show. When they're driving off, she's like, boy, I can't wait for my girls to meet, your wife or
Yeah,
whatever like that.
yeah,
Meaning
yeah.
they're going to get a good education, what's like to be nice, because they're all shocked that people are friendly, they're nice,
Hmm.
they know each other's name. The old small town values of where people are more important than things, and they help each other out, and it's
Oh,
lost
and
in today's writing.
it was another thing too is when they go over to she signed the papers out for the release for the truck, and
Oh
she
yeah, and
says
she's
I'm praying, we're all
trying to
praying for
find.
you,
She's like praying for what?
like
She
it
says
ain't
for
she said
peace.
it ain't working,
Yeah, I mean, she
and
wasn't being mean to the lady. I didn't think.
she's still kind of grieving.
She's
She was kind of
frustrated.
snapping. She's
Exactly.
frustrated, yeah, because
But
she
she
has to do
does
all
that
this.
well. That's the greatness of Michelle Pfeiffer there. That could
Yeah,
come across as very Karenish, and it
very
doesn't.
it comes out very catty a little bit, but
I just I,
but other than that, like I said, for the show, I said I will. I guess we're gonna return. There's only 3 more episodes, and they're dropping on next Saturday.
Saturday next 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll revisit this next Tuesday for the final thing. Now, my point is that it's 6 episodes. Had this been like what 12 or 13 longer, then it'd be way too long for me. I'm curious to see what's going to happen at the end of this series. There's gonna be a second season. What the show's got to change the dynamic, I mean, how much more Kurt Russell is going to be in the second season? Will there be more of a family, come together, realize, or will they still be fighting? I am
Mhm.
curious to where this type of show can go, because I don't see them having her like meeting another guy and be like, oh yeah, I can't betray my Kurt Russell, my ex, no, I don't see that, but I
Well,
do.
they already threw a divorced older daughter,
Yeah,
middle-aged one,
yes,
with
yes,
the cop's
yes,
buddy there, right?
yeah,
So it's
but
possible.
so I don't think the mother will have a little over interest, but as far as the daughter, I think she's gonna have basically guy is interested in her. They kiss at the end in episode 3,
They're gonna
but
bone.
but
Let's be
but
honest, really
but
quick here.
I want to say real quickly though, but I think the daughter's gonna mess it up because she's spoiled.
Oh,
This guy.
really?
Yeah, I think the guy, the deputy that's interested into the daughter is going to realize, wow, you're just like because
That's what
he's
would really
because
happen in real life.
in real life, a guy sees a pretty girl. Now he don't- and now there are guys out there who will date women that had kids.
Well,
That's not like
he's a
a
hunky widow,
fantasy,
bro.
you know.
He's a hunky widow. He's got kids of his own, right?
Yeah,
I remember that correctly?
yeah. So honestly, I could see them working out, maybe towards the end, but I think they're gonna have a few bumps in the road.
You think it's gonna be a
She's not
show where they
ready.
all end up there as one happy big
Yeah,
family?
but at the end of the series, I don't know how long the series will go. As you said, the reception, it's a different show that Taylor Sheridan has written. People have heard fans of Yellowstone, but they dropped off as soon as the Kevin Costner was killed off. I don't know as far as this is a female lead. It could do well, but then there's also people who are like who like the woke left stuff. You're like, well, I don't like this. Why is she acting like this? It's too much mansplaining from her dead husband.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to see how far this show goes and what it develops into. I was amazed I got a second season.
Well, apparently they had already filmed it, and he'd filmed it when he
Yeah,
was doing
filmed
season
it
2 of
last year.
Monarch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they did a great job of keeping it under wraps. I give them credit for that, really. Look, I'm not gonna not watch it. I just kind of now know what it is, and
Mhm.
I guess I'm disappointed myself for I guess feeling like the way it was presented. Maybe I should have caught that. I don't know.
You know what? It doesn't really bother me as much because the fact that I still have Landman. Landman is pretty much the show if you want the guy, doing everything and dealing with all the bullshit. This is the female version of that.
Well, let's talk briefly about the last 2 main characters, not the little girls, but the younger daughter, who's I guess in her 20s, married to the nondescript individual,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't know anything. He's just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm like offended that this guy, but then I'm trying to watch the guy and I go, well, he's not being bad, but he's a New York
Mhm.
City guy. What this is here's what it is. Sheridan, I think, hates big cities. I think he's got
Yeah.
a disdain for them. I think he thinks the old country ways are the best. In
Yeah.
a way, he's right, because this is what Stephen King would always kind of do. He'd always talk about, like, your old school vibes, and he had a distrust of government and everything too. And even though he was liberal, and you could argue whether Sheridan's a feminist or not, I think you can argue
So
definitely
Russell and
both ways.
Paige are the couple.
It's 100% her show. I just wish I would have done it early on. I think if they were just more honest and genuine about it, it would have a more stronger response, rather than some people like me that are going, okay, when are you going to try to fuck me again because you showed one thing, you didn't do another? Okay, if they all end up on here. See, here's the interesting thing. She's grieving. She wants to bring him there. She thinks it's the right thing to do. Totally understand it. I think a lot of people that listen to us, especially the older listeners, or even people around the world, the younger guys that listen to us with the action shows, we've all been through some loss, some grief in our families. Things happen, right? And to be honest, it's a tough thing to deal with. You don't have a lot of experience with it, and it doesn't get easier. You just know what to do. So she's figuring her way out. She's being the matriarch of the family. They don't need no stinking man. They'll figure it out, I'm sure, on their own, because they're doing swell.
Also,
but if that's it, that's enough. But just at some point, it's got to be a little bit more wholesome, where they're having fun, because it's just a bit dark, I think, right now.
Right now it is too. And even the flashback, the dinner, when they went out for dinner stuff, and then they're all on their phones, and she's like, "Dude, put your phones away." Like, the youngest daughter, Paige, like, rude to who? I got mugged, and so she's like, it's rude to the staff and and everyone else around you. It's like, put your phones down, like,
here's the thing in Sheridan's defense. He's getting Michelle Pfeiffer to say the shit that you and I as guys would normally like to say and tell our family.
Yep.
Right? I just wonder why Kurt Russell and her didn't do it the entire time.
Here's the other thing too. I did current news right now and stuff, or I saw what's his name? I think his name's Mayer or who's the conservative talk show host, the one that it's kind of like liberal, but not, he's old school liberal. He has people come over on his.
Keep talking.
He had I think it was Mayer or Moyer or whatever it was, but
Bill Moyer.
Bill Moyer, yeah, Bill Moyer,
the comedian guy with the cigar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's bedwetting liberal. He's never been conservative.
No, I'm not saying that. He's old school though. Bill Myers or something. So he had on Jared Connell on couple days ago, and Jared Connell was talking about how he can't say things around his wife, Rebecca Bain, and his two daughters, otherwise they'll scream and yell at him, acting like he's like a monster. Like, he said he's like, I have to tiptoe. He's like, and he got the point where he's like, because they were talking about the elections on that, and said about he said Trump's gonna win and stuff, and they're like, look at him, he's like he's horrible, and he's like, and he pretty much said, is like, I'm pretty much the point where I'm gonna start speaking my mind. It's like I can't be yelled at because I have a different opinion, and so and just so I kind of feel like you're like, this is kind of tying into this show. It's like I love how Michelle Pfeiffer finally is like the twice. She's like, before they kind of didn't live together. No one lived together. She lived alone with her, with her husband, but now she's realized, like, now they're all under one roof, no matter what they like, it's
they'll learn to love and be a family again.
Yeah.
All thanks to the death of their perfect husband.
Yeah. Who's still
I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but that's how it is.
Who's still helping them from the grave.
Yeah, he loved us so much, he's reaching beyond the grave. And you know what? Nobody ever really dies RTV as long as we have them right here in our hearts. You know what I'm saying?
No, as I said, she's being reminded of basically, what it means to be. Yeah.
Look, and for that, look.
And she could understand why her husband wanted to be out there, because he was already experiencing this stuff, and had he survived, it would have been him and her, probably, maybe they never would have moved out there because the kids never would have wanted to, maybe they would have went to Steam Ride, but the fact that he died and they couldn't, she had to go out there, and so everybody came with her. So now it gave him a chance, the way things work out sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I just typed this in chat here, the problem I have, with Monarch is just the present writing is every, box check kind of stuff that, we don't like to discuss on here and all that. It's very insulting. But the old storyline and the fact that Russell's younger version is played by his real life son, Wyatt Russell, and the way they do stuff back and forth.
The Monarch,
and it's about Monarch. It has kaiju in it, the monsters. It's not always about the monsters. I kind of do like that. So it pisses me off when I watch it and I suffer through it because Russell's in it. So I'm going to keep watching it no matter what. Michelle Pfeiffer, I'm trying to think of actresses that could pull this off, and right now none come to mind to me. I'm not saying they wouldn't exist. She just seems perfect for the role. And I keep saying that, we'll do Tequila Sunrise one day on here because that's a good movie that they're both in for back, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s. So it's Kurt Russell. So it's an automatic watch. So definitely next week, I would like to go ahead with you and review the final 3 episodes that'll get dropped this weekend here, episodes 4, 5, and 6 for season 1 of the Madison. And you know what? There's worse things to look at than beautiful landscaping, a bunch of beautiful women trying.
Well, that's the thing too. You're getting so much nature shots of Montana, the rivers, and all that stuff there. It's wonderful. That's one thing. It's like you have about Yellowstone to Sheridan shows.
Yep.
Everything in the nature, all that stuff, it's beautiful, and stuff. Tulsa King is the only one where it's all city stuff.
Even Landman feels more like a Texas show because of the way they frame it, right? And they involve it.
Everything.
Tulsa King is just Tulsa. It's just, it could be anywhere town you say. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. No, overall, I get what he's trying to do. I understand it now more, but boy, I can only imagine. I would love to have seen the real time clicking off 20, 30 minutes in when they whack these guys and you're going, no, I'll give it a few more minutes because I know they just didn't do what I think they did. But they did, and now I think that's probably going to dominate the news cycle. Then people say, well, just watch it. He's trying to deal with grief. A lot of shows don't do it. So I'll give them credit for that. That's one of the pluses besides their acting and some of the shots. So like I say, it's a bit of a frustrating show for me. I thought it was going to go one way, and it's not. But you know what? It's worth talking about. That's why I'm glad we're reviewing.
You know what I'm waiting for is winter.
Oh, exactly. I'm waiting for,
because they already showed him in the flashback. So he's like, I got heating here and stuff. They got electricity, they got light. Natural light and everything coming through.
I'm waiting for one of the little girls to start hunting, fishing, the old school.
That's the thing. Yeah, if Cade's got boys, the neighbor, them hanging out and stuff. It's at the end of the episode, or season 3, or not season 3, but episode 3. The daughters and Russell, were and Paige were all kind of getting along.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't.
Now,
there's one thing we got to mention, though.
They're forced to interact with each other. It wasn't that bad.
So there is one thing we got to mention, though, we forgot to talk about as far as with Russell and Paige. Paige, like I said, we already mentioned that Paige is the one and she wears the pants, controls everything. She's the one that was mugged in the very first episode. So, but now it's if they're out here and she went to go use the outhouse and pretty much she gets stung in the ass because there's a wasp nest on the inside.
And the kitty.
And the kitty too, yes. And Russell, and then she's blaming Russell. It's like, why didn't you he had mentioned to everybody there's a wasp nest out in the outhouse before, but she didn't.
Nobody listened to him.
Yeah. So she gets stung in the, and then now they do show for the guys are they do show some skin.
Yep.
See some so, he goes out there. He's and because he's such a prissy boy, he goes out there with a can of Raid. He's gonna go spray it or Spectre. Sorry, he had Spectre side. That's what you see in the Midwest. And he goes to spray it in there, and
this is so painful to watch, bro. Not gonna lie.
He got stung in the eye, or right above the eye, and his eye shut. And it's so he can't see nothing else. He's blind and stuff. And she's they're yelling at each other and stuff. Kate comes over, and when he goes with the food the first time. And he says, "Oh, I just take some baking soda and whatever, put it in the eye. It'll be good as new. Take the poison right out of there." Mm-hmm. He's like, well, where's the hospital? 2 hours. So he tells this to Michelle Pfeiffer. He's like, they're gonna tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
What?
Sheridan's good at putting those little things in there because it does show them as much as they're insufferable, and I don't care about them. Therefore, I don't care that they turn positive. Because frankly, why would I watch it? They do try to cuddle with each other in the bed. You can tell there's no sexual chemistry between them and all that. But she's laying there with her ass hanging out,
trying to
ass, and him trying to talk stuff to her and all that. So you go, they do seem like they deserve each other.
Yeah, and I was trying to identify the accent of Paige because she doesn't sound like the rest of them.
She does.
She almost has like a European accent or something like that. Can't tell.
I don't know.
Or is it like the Stallone's daughter? It has the accent, Uh,
A little Italian, maybe. Well,
yeah,
we'll find out. I'm sure there'll be more fleshing out of these characters here going into
but
the next few things. As long as they don't add a lot more to it and they just keep it, hey, what do we have to do next to well, the one last final scene I'll say is this, because I thought this set up the plot of the show. Besides him dying, of course,
yeah,
shocking everybody. When she goes in, she meets the one lawyer guy or whatever. Hey, I knew your husband, blah, blah, blah. I know you're not asking for advice. This is what I would say. I think it's a wonderful idea. I knew him very well. I think he'd love to be buried out there, but understand this. If you do that and you put a plot of land on there, then you go to sell the property and this and that. They don't have to do it. They can keep it. They can have it moved and all that too or whatever. And he goes, I just thought it might be something to consider. Sheridan's usually pretty good at putting a little thing like that.
Yeah.
That's the real world that makes you think, yeah, that's what would drive your decision making. Because here's the thing, that further tells us as the audience that she's probably gonna have to decide, no, I definitely want to stay out here. Now I got to do it. Do I make it a farm? Do I have them all going there? How am I going to change the trusts and all that? Like she's already kind of mentioned there a little bit. So it has to be a bit more permanent. I hope that they don't have more grief, but it's certainly a possibility. But I think this is one of those shows where they're just going to make everything gooey, happy, loving at the end, and that's going to be it. I don't think it's going to be more than 2 seasons, and I may be wrong. And I'll watch it because it's Kurt Russell, even if it is.
It probably will be 2 seasons long, and that's about it. Because I don't think. I mean, maybe it only planned to be 2. That's why they filmed it so fast.
Well, again, it depends on how it gets received. I'm sure he could write it in such a way where he could add something to it or whatever. But he'll probably have another 20 shows in production by the time that happens.
He's also the main writer for Landman right now too.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's got another show coming out. I mean, Yellowstone's over with, right? As far as I know.
I have no idea. I don't keep up with them.
No.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts?
No. Like I said, this was actually a pretty decent show. When you first told me, and like, oh, it's a bait and switch, and I'm like, oh, I didn't watch it yet. So you spoiled it for me. So then I went to go watch it. And I was like, ain't that bad? Didn't hit me as hard. It's like,
it just felt like a fuck you.
No, not really. Not to me.
Well, I'm happy for you because I care. Would you like to rub my feet in the bathtub facing me, sir? And we can have a disagreement politely?
No, sir.
You can, I want you to feel emotionally open to me, sir.
You can go to the outhouse, sit on a bunch of bees.
Yeah, well, you go fuck yourself. Well, go fly a plane, bitch. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Madison, episodes 1 through 3. Let us know what you think. Also, like RDV likes to mention, and I agree as well, if you guys have any suggestions on shows or movies you'd like us to review, let's do it. We don't research them. We just go live and start talking. That's what we do, what we like, what we don't like, what works. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, live, me and the young 20-something Professor Pixel will be reviewing Season 4. I believe it's Episode 6, the final episode of Columbo in that season. As we do our Columbo reviews, join us live for that. And then we'll be live Sunday night with Miami Vice. Season 1, that's going to be episode 6 as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So check that out. That's
with James Edward Olmos.
Yeah, and I think Bruce Willis is coming up here soon too. So
yes, and then come back next Tuesday. Rob gets more emotional on a show that's about emotions.
I care. And I wear my heart on the sleeve, so I don't have a great poker face, but I've got a great game face. I make lots of faces while I'm talking these episodes because, man, you have Kurt Russell and you don't give him any agency. You just let the women do everything. This is what Sheridan does. It's really.
You ever think that maybe Kurt Russell is too busy to do more than that? Being there,
I disagree completely. He can pick and choose whatever the hell he wants to, and that's what he does.
Well, yeah, and as he chose this.
I have no problem with his decision making.
Respect his decision.
You know what? I don't have to because I'm the one who's consuming the product, sir. So I don't have to be a 5-star fucking chef to sit there and say, "Hey, this is overcooked," or "This isn't right," or "the rice is too crispy."
Oh, you're sounding like the girls now. Complain. Have a good night, guys.
I'm thinking I am just a man. Good night, everybody.